It's time for our discussion of the week. Credit cards continue to be preferred methods of payment, both for customers and businesses. However, the growing presence of digital payment, especially the so-called buy now, pay later or BNPL, could hamper their future growth. Credit cards remain one of the most popular payment methods in Indonesia, although there is a growing competition from digital payment in the country. Credit cards are still considered as offering more convenience and benefits to customers and businesses compared to other payment methods. Through the credit cards, banks or other financial institutions can offer a loan to credit card holders to make purchases at participating merchants such as restaurants, hotels, online stores, and much more. The Indonesian credit card market has begun to expand again after a sharp drop in transaction value during the first year of COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. During the year, the value of the credit card transactions dropped by more than 30% to 238.90 trillion rupiah, or about 15.32 billion US dollars, from 342.68 trillion rupiah in 2019. In 2021, value of the credit card transaction rose slightly to 244.52 trillion rupiah, but it was still lower than the number recorded before the pandemic. However, the credit card transactions jumped by 32% to 323.6 trillion in 2022. According to data provided by the Indonesian Credit Card Association, the transaction value of the credit cards reached 226.33 trillion as of October 2023. Meanwhile, in 2022, the number of credit card transactions rose to 337.49 million from 277.05 million in 2021. Since May 2020, Indonesia's central bank has cut the maximum credit card interest rate from 2.25 to 2% per month to boost transaction, which dropped sharply during the pandemic. However, the growing digital payment methods such as buy now, pay later, which in many cases acts like a credit card, could become a threat to the future growth of the credit card market. BNPL is a short-term loan that allows customers to buy goods or services in installment sets by an online application vendor. One of BNPL's advantages is that it offers a greater flexibility and ease of payment than traditional credit cards or loans provided by banks, so it will be easier for them to manage their finances and avoid high interest charges. At first glance, BNPL is more accessible for customers who do not qualify for traditional credit, such as credit cards. This includes the younger generation who do not have a good credit history or other customers who have a low credit score. In many cases, BNPL can be used like credit cards. Although BNPL has a similar characteristic with credit card and offers a greater flexibility and ease of payment, it will unlikely replace credit cards. BNPL is just like other digital payment options which offers convenience and practicality to customers. BNPL will compete with credit card in the same market, but it seems unlikely it will be able to replace credit card business, which has proven sustainable for years. Now, the Indonesian credit card market has begun to expand again after a sharp drop in transaction value during COVID-19 pandemic 2020. However, the rapidly growing digital payment methods could affect its future growth. Now with us this afternoon on Zoom is Steve Marta. He is the Executive Director at Indonesian Credit Card Association. And Steve will talk to us about the impact of Buy Now, Pay Later or BNPL application on credit cards. Good afternoon, Steve.
Good afternoon, Luisa. We'll say good morning.
All right, yeah. Good morning, almost afternoon now. Well, Steve, first of all, the credit card market has begun to increase again after a sharp decline in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. How is the prospect of the credit card business now amid the growing presence of various kinds of digital payment methods that we see mostly on online digital payment these days?
Okay, I didn't get what the question, the last part of your question, but anyway, like you said, the credit card industry has dropped significantly during the pandemic area, where we have dropped, I think, 50% of the sales volume during the year of 2020 and 2021. And we only rebound back in the year of 2022, but then we only get to the point where we were only in the end of 2023, I think. Yeah. This is all based on the characteristic of credit card, and this is also depends on the freedom of movement of the public. When during the pandemic area, people are required to stay home. We cannot go out. We cannot go dining. We cannot go shopping. That's why the credit card transaction has been dropping. But looking at the situation today, I think we are still positive. We are still convinced that credit card industry will still be the preference of the payment, and it will still be growing good for the future, even though, like you said, there are options of the ways of making payment nowadays. But I think due to the characteristic of the credit card, it will stay for futures.
Now, Steve, the fact is that recently the decision of several global banks such as Citibank and Standard Chartered Bank have decided to close their credit card business in Indonesia recently. This could signal that the Indonesia's credit card market is no longer as profitable as before. What do you think? What's your opinion on this presumption?
The decisions of the regional bank to close down the business, I would say not the credit card business, but the consumer banking business, is solely not because of the Indonesian market. As you know, these two regional banks closed down the consumer banking not only in Indonesia but also in several countries. Yes, there are some limitation of the growing of the consumer banking for the regional banking in Indonesia because there are some disadvantage, I would say, for them to operate in Indonesia. To name, maybe if we give an examples of the regional banking versus the local bank, where a local bank has more branches and more accessible to the market, this has become the disadvantage of the regional bank. But again, the decision of closing the credit card business in Indonesia is not rarely because of the credit card itself, but this is the decision of the whole consumer banking in the region. So my answer will be there will still be a future in the credit card, even though this regional banking decide to close down the credit card business in Indonesia.
Now, as you mentioned just now that ever since the COVID pandemic happens, that the digital payment, online payment in Indonesia have grown so rapid. Now, do you think that their growing presence, especially the method of BNPL or Buy Now, Pay Later application, which in many cases act like a credit card now, could this become a threat to the future growth of the credit card market? And if not, what are your reasons?
Yes, there are some overlapping between credit card and BNPL. But before I answer that, I think we have to know the characteristic of the credit card versus the BNPL, whereas the credit card is the payment instrument. The BNPL is mostly a credit facility. So even though there is some overlapping, I think people will still use credit cards as a payment instrument. Nowadays, I think that the term of credit card is not the term of card is not really showing what is the actual product, because the credit facility also can become the source of fund of the credit card payment. Yes, there will be a threat, but I think it will be a different market for credit card versus the BNPL. To name, BNPL has the higher interest rate. And then secondly, maybe credit card has the more flexibility of making payment. So I think BNPL will be the entry level, if you will, for the credit card market. People who doesn't have a credit card, maybe they will accept BNPL at the beginning, but after a while, maybe they will switch to a credit card because of the functionality.
Now, if you could just explain maybe to our younger audiences, if you just now mentioned that BNPL is just the starting point for those who doesn't own a credit card, what are the advantages of using credit card for payment?
Okay, to give you an example, if you have a credit card, you can make a payment to almost in every merchant. And then after you make a payment, then you can have an option to decide whether you want to pay it in full at the end of the month, or you can have a credit facility through the credit card. Whereas the BNPL is that you apply for the credit, then you decide what do you want to buy. Okay, this is something that differentiates between credit card and BNPL. So-called that credit card has more flexibility. Say, for example, if you want to go overseas, you don't have to decide what do you want to buy, but then you can apply for credit card first, then you can use it as you making a payment. So I think this is the two characteristics that differentiate between BNPL and credit card. Yes, it is. I think it is harder to get the credit card rather than the BNPL. That's why BNPL can become the entry level product for credit card. After you have a BNPL, maybe then you have more information on your credit history, then you can apply for the credit card.
Nicely explained there, Steve, about the characteristic between BNPL and credit card. Now let's talk about the interest rate. Banks generally charge high interest rate of at least 20% a year and fine about 1% for late payments. Why is the interest rate and fine so high? Can you explain more on this?
In general, yes, credit or unsecured loan had interest rate and charges, because basically
Hello, Steve.
For the banks, it carries loan charges more rather than any other consumer loan, which have a collateral.
Okay, Steve, could you please repeat that just one more time, because we had trouble with the connection just now.
Okay, the cut is the uncollateral loan. The uncollateral loan lending charges a higher interest rate rather than the collateral loan.
Now, Steve, the credit card fraud, such as identity theft, skimming, and phishing attacks continue to grow recently. Do you think that the security features used by credit card issuers is still reliable enough to prevent such frauds? And do you have any tips to prevent credit card users from all these actions?
Okay, as of today, I can say that the security level of the electronic payment is, 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 is quite good. Technology will prevent the credit card fraud in the future. Uh, for the consumer, I would say that it is okay. Don't worry. It is safe. And to protect your credit card, the easiest way to handle it is just like handling your cash. So treat your credit card as your cash. Always have it on your side and report it when you lose it. This is something, and never. Oh, another thing is never give your information to other party that you don't know.
Thank you, Steve Marta, for your advice and for your tips right there on how to use credit card and to make sure that we are protected when we are using credit card. Thank you for your insights, Steve Marta, the Executive Director at Indonesian Credit Card Association. And we'll see you again next time on Economic Outlook.
Thank you, Luisa.